Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pop Marketing Podcast. I'm still Joe Cox. It feels good to be back after a short, start of the summer break. I have been doing a lot of work, talking to a lot of marketers about our continued conversations about the metaverse and speaking with gamers and gaming, getting involved there. And here's the thing. I thought a lot about it, and I'm not Gen Z. I'm not, and as much as I would love to say that I am a gamer, and I have been a gamer all my life, and which I am, when it comes to the world of esports and the onboarding to the metaverse, it's not me. I need to learn more, just like all of you marketers out there. And today, I am super thrilled to introduce everybody to Wiktoria Wójcik. So Victoria has we met online. She reached out to me, and let me just talk a little bit about. I'm gonna introduce everybody just a little bit to you, Victoria. She is Gen Z herself. So a Gen Z, and not only Gen Z, but a co-founder of Instreamly, which is a company that connects brands with metaverse creators. We're going to learn all about that. Uh, for being Gen Z, she's got quite the career. A streamer herself, so I'd love to talk a little bit about that. Interviewer in esports, worked with esports organizations, worked with a ton of different streamer campaigns, thousands of gaming creators, hundreds of brands, including Netflix, Samsung, and PlayStation. Top esports organizations she's worked with, including G2 Esports, Furia, and BIG. It's all kinds of stuff. 30 under 30s, Forbes Poland 25 under 25, Businesswoman of the Year. I'm so thrilled to have you on. I know you talk a lot about the metaverse, about esports, about gaming in general, and I'm thrilled to have you on to kind of talk about all that stuff to us at the Pop Marketing Podcast. Victoria, how are you today?
Thank you for having me and for the great introduction. And I'm well today and looking forward to telling you more about gamers, Gen Z marketing, and what I think about the future of metaverse.
That's it in a nutshell. Let's get going. Victoria, I would love to understand a little bit about your personal background. How did you get to where you are right now as a co-founder of Instreamly, and as a thought leader inside of the world of Gen Z and all things gaming?
So it all started when I got my first computer when I was 8 as a first communion gift from my grandmother. And then I'd say that I was addicted to League of Legends when I was 17, 16, 17, 18. And I started streaming because I sent my CV to over 30 marketing agencies when I finished high school before I started college. And nobody responded. So I thought, okay, marketing is not for me. I'm just gonna be a streamer. People will pay me for watching me play video games. And I wasn't a big streamer myself, and I was not as dedicated as I should be to become big. But it still opened me, the eyes that I can make a career by doing something on my own. That gaming is a viable career choice, and knowing a game, knowing this whole environment can be a valuable skill. So since then, I was an esports interviewer. I managed to get it all just because I was active in different communities, in esports communities. This is how I met my co-founders. And the idea for our company was actually not mine, but I was invited to join it as a co-founder because I understood the perspective of, on one hand, Gen Z viewers, and on the other hand, of the small streamers, small creators that want to make their passion a career. So I've been lucky to have a few lucky incidents, be in the right place in the right moment, and of course take the effort to be in the right places. And regarding marketing, I learned everything online. I was studying marketing, but Nothing really new was taught there. So I am all in for thinking that marketing is some kind of a talent that you can have, understanding people what they want, what they need. And on the other hand, it's all up to you to just learn yourself. There is so much knowledge available online that anybody can become an expert if they really want to put effort into it.
Yeah, luck is just opportunity meeting preparation. So that you're totally right on that. I love to hear that. Let's talk a little bit about Instreamly now that you've kind of got us some context to getting us there as a founder with Instreamly. What does Instreamly do? What problem does it solve for us?
So let's start with the problem we solve right now, and maybe later I'll share a bit about what problem we want to solve in the future. What's the big vision here? But generally speaking, live streamer, gaming live streamer, people who stream on Twitch and on YouTube, also on other platforms, but these two are the main ones. And 99.9% of them have less than 100 viewers, less than 50 viewers. They are small, but have very, very dedicated and engaged communities. And it takes a lot of time to have 50 people watching you at the same time. It's not just like you turn off on your camera, turn on your stream, and then bam, 50 people. So they put in a lot of effort and they want to go full time, they want to dedicate more time into it, but they cannot earn that much money because you cannot imagine a brand like Samsung, for example, working with an influencer that has 50 concurrent viewers. Not enough. So we've seen that there is like 99% of the streaming market that has no opportunity to work with top brands. And on the other hand, those top brands have no opportunity to work with them, and we decided to automate it. It cannot be that hard. You shouldn't have to contact each streamer individually to set up a deal. Too much time. So we automated it and made it not only easy for brands to get the reach they want by directly working with streamers, but on the other hand, giving the streamers a way to, work on their passion, earn on their passion, become pros in the future. So how Instreamly works is pretty simple. From the perspective of a streamer, they come into our dashboard, make a 2-minute setup, and they choose the campaigns they want to participate in. And choose is the very important word here because they choose the brand, and this means that it's directly in their content, and it means that the viewers, first of all, know that the streamer chose this, so they are more accepting of the brand appearing within the stream. The second thing is directly in the content, so it's unblockable by ad blocks. And the third thing, uh, it's just, the brand is supporting the favorite streamer and it's more engagement. And from the perspective of brands, you can put it in Excel and compare it to just normal media channels like Facebook, etc. Because you have all the CTRs, all the data aggregated, but you still get the benefits of influencer marketing, and you get the benefits of live streaming. So we can react to what happens in the streamed game and have a brand placement appear only the moment when the streamer wins, or when the streamer loses, or when they earn money or spend money. So we took something that was done by hand, streamer sponsorships, made it automated, scalable, more interesting. Instead of a logo, we make it react to what happens in game. And we made it available to all the streamers all around the world and to all the brands that really want to leverage this potential.
Love it, and it makes sense. It just reminds me of similar platforms that I've worked with in the world of micro influencers inside of other social media networks, whether that be Instagram or TikTok. Somewhat similar, but this is specifically towards streaming, at least right now, into streaming. So that our listeners and our viewers just get a little bit of a deeper understanding on streaming and the state of streaming and live streaming and specifically gaming in 2022 as we sit now. What does that look like right now? What channels are gamers watching for streaming? And what's changed in the last, like, say, 5 years the most with streaming?
I'd say that surprisingly, not much has changed in the last 5 years, apart from, generally speaking, there are some meta. So, what is popular on streams right now changes every a couple of months. But what's important to know about streaming in general, it's streaming is all about personality. The game that streamers play and the viewers watch is just a context. So you can compare it to going bowling with your friends. You go bowling because you prefer bowling over kayaking, but you're not there because you want to bowl and you want to play bowling. Most of the time, you are there to spend time with your friends, to chat with them, to be with them in the context of the situation. And live streaming is the same. So the games changed, the categories change. Most of all the time, CSGO, League of Legends, Fortnite, right now Valorant, and other games are still on top. The most popular games are the most popular on live streaming, mostly apart from games played by, let's say, kids. So Roblox, Minecraft have lower viewership in live streaming, and we can talk about why later. And you cannot say that gamers or live stream watchers are watching games. They are watching a personality in the context of gaming, and they are spending time together, so interacting with the chat with the streamer. And I think it's the most important thing to know about live streaming is not treating it as a passive content creation and content consumption, is treating it in the middle between direct relationship and content. And this is, well, live streaming is on one hand just content creation, something you consume, something that is in the background when you watch it. And on the other hand, it's something you feel a part of more than any type of content. In terms of platforms worldwide, it's Twitch, it's YouTube. There are a couple of other platforms that are worth mentioning, especially in India, it's gonna be Nimo or Buyah. In China, it's gonna be Huya. But for the most of the Western world, YouTube and Twitch, especially Twitch, makes it. And in terms of content, I think it's interesting to know that the most popular category uh, in live streaming on Twitch is just chatting. So people, just chatting like you and I, but in some context that later the streamer might play a game or they are watching YouTube videos together. And my personal most popular streamers when I was a streamer, and I was streaming mainly League of Legends, but sometimes I just streamed just chatting. And my biggest streams were I was peeling potatoes and making cucumber salad, and people were just watching me because I was talking about philosophy, politics, etc. Like peeling potatoes was not something important to watch. And maybe coming back to why not Minecraft, not Roblox, why they are not popular in live
Sure.
streaming. When you are a 10-year-old, most of 10-year-olds, you can safely say, have not that much time to spend playing video games or just using computer. Parents will take more care in how they spend their private time than when they are 16-year-old or anything. So they prefer, those 10-year-olds, they prefer to have very condensed content with the most important, most exciting things. So they watch YouTube videos, and YouTube videos like VOD content about Roblox, Minecraft is very popular. But those 10, 12-year-olds at the same time don't have enough time to spend 4 hours a day watching a streamer. So that's why one of the reasons why live streaming in those, let's say, younger games for younger people is not as popular. But it will change. They are growing up. They are spending more time in front of screens. And on the other hand, there are more and more people who are older than you would expect who are watching streams, especially games that and creators that are more calm, more about strategy, more collected. So team fight tactics, niche strategic games, and you will have audience that's 35 to 40. And live streaming is a very interesting medium looking from this point of view, because those people will chat less, but they will feel more connected and will be more supportive of the streamer, because they also have money and they can appreciate how much time it takes to make content. So live streaming is different. I think in the future, YouTube will be the most popular platform, not in gaming specifically, but in other types of content. So creators of other types of content, from beauty through cars, through cleaning carpets or anything, will want to leverage this relationship they can have with their viewers, this authenticity, this feeling of real interaction. And this is what live streaming gives them. And they will not have a reason to move to a different platform and move all this traffic from their YouTube or from their Instagram uh, to a new platform. They will just stay on YouTube, where they already have the audience, where the VOD is saved. And I think Twitch, in this case, will be looking for different ways to encourage people to stream, not only games. They are already doing that in sports, and they are already doing that on different markets. So if you go to the top 10 streamers each month for the past couple of months, in the top five, at least two of them will be Spanish speaking or Portuguese speaking, so usually Latin America or just Brazil targeted, and they are getting really, really huge. The biggest streamer right now just hit a record with over 3 million people watching at the same time the same stream, and it was Spanish.
It's crazy. And I think it's a great intro to the way that two things that come across from that I think were great insights. And it's that it's not just gaming. Live streaming may have gotten a lot of energy and started inside of watching people play live games, but it has evolved a ton to have a lot more content on live streaming than just gaming, whether that be, like you said, chatting is number one, but there's art, there's music. I myself watch a lot of that, and for me, as somebody who is more of the elder millennial viewer, you know, don't have as much time as I did when I was in my teens or early 20s. So it's kind of that same thing. Is I I want to follow the game and I want to see how it plays, and I want to kind of see somebody that I relate to and identify with play that game, so I can see it and get a feel for it, even though I will never have time to play the games that I used to play. So I definitely see a lot of people utilizing it for that. And then you also bring up it's global. It's very global. In that even some of the top streamers are not. It's not English speaking, and does not. And I think a lot of marketers that are based here in the States would kind of think, hey, it's more of a US thing, because they see that's really a lot of all they see. Could you talk a little bit about how much of a global thing that streaming, an opportunity that streaming is?
Yeah, I think that when everything is going global, so you could say that kids from all around the world watch the same YouTubers, they wear the same fashion, use the same apps, know the same trends. Live streaming, surprisingly, would be one of the most localized mediums, because you don't have subtitles in live streaming. The content is fast, it's live, it's not scripted, so the English is not always perfect. And on one hand, you will have top English speaking streamers, like, for example, Asmongold, take very deep care, and he mentions it on streams when he goes meta and just talks about his streaming. And he tells that he's making sure to use simple sentences, to speak as properly as possible, because he knows that majority of his viewers are from Europe and are not native English speakers, and they are from Europe because he's streaming from 9 to 5 his hours, and it's evenings in Europe. So you could say that most American streamers that treat it as a full-time job would have less American audience that you would suspect. The other thing is that it's very simple. Polish viewers watch Polish streamers, French viewers watch French streamers. And of course, some of them will also watch the stars in English. But when discovering small streamers, they will not have a reason to discover small English speaking streamers. They will go to discover smaller local streamers because, on one hand, this is the way to support them, and on the other, it's just easier to find something you can relate to. So I think it's very interesting from this point of view because you sometimes can think that you're making a global campaign just by working with the most popular streamer, and you will reach a certain type of audience that is more English savvy. Probably they can earn more because the language skills go up with how much of a wealthy family you have. Usually it's like that. And on the other hand, you miss out on this whole array of people who never go out of their localized language. And it's very interesting because it makes it a bit hard to really treat live streaming as an easy way in for brands. And it's similar to gaming in a way that if you are doing, let's say, a gaming campaign in Roblox, or you are doing a 1v1 tournament in League of Legends, you get very secluded into people who are interested in this game and who play the game. Because even if I personally would like to, check out the next Roblox experience by another brand, downloading Roblox is 50 gigabytes of space on my computer. I don't have time for that, and I don't play this game. So in gaming marketing, you are sometimes very into one game and it just excludes you for other types of audiences. And in live streaming marketing, you have to include yourself in different languages and different communities as well, because people who watch certain group of streamers usually don't go outside of this group and type of streamers, and you can easily look at clusters of streamers who have similar audiences, and those audiences do not go out. So apart from language, there is then the clusters of audiences. And this is also why in Instreamly we recommend, and the best performing campaigns for us are when the client doesn't say what games we should exclude or what games they don't want to appear in context with. And we just go as broad as possible to as many streamers as possible. And it brings the best results because it reaches the more unique audiences, the most small niche communities, so small streamers, and it's just more variable. So live streaming in terms of being global trend but very localized in terms of how it works every day is very, very unique and interesting.
Yeah, and it's a great point because I think a lot of marketers that are getting into stepping into gaming and maybe stepping into streaming just because they start to understand their audience is 100% there and the amount of time, right? Because we deal in attention. And so if there is a place where attention is being had with our target a market or with our target audience, that is a place we really need to start looking into. And I see it a lot in that when you start looking, it's always going to be about the first place you see is giant streamers, right? Like those large streamers you talk about. And yes, Instreamly does cater towards bringing together and getting brands in front of those smaller influencers or those smaller streamers that are able to kind of give somebody more than maybe what you could with a really large streamer. Is Why should a marketer look into something as bringing together all these different smaller streamers? What do they get more so on that versus what they would get with a large campaign that features maybe five or six of the really large streamers?
I think both options are viable, and if you have budget for both, then do it, because they serve different needs. What big streamers give, like celebrities, you're talking about stars, somebody who is the name of the industry, it gives you just like tremendous credibility. This is the brand is working with this big guy. This is something big in itself. On the other hand, it will cost you a lot because you are paying the influencer premium for the celebrity, and also in a very, very niche environment. And if you have money to spend on working with a big streamer, making him the face of your campaign, making him the face of your product, and then using this face and using small creators as a way to reach very, very different communities who will most likely know who this big streamer is. So the big streamer gives credibility, and then you get reach and engagement from the small streamers. What the small streamers give you, and I'm talking small streamers, if you use a tool like Instreamly, there are also other competitors, won't mention them, we are the best, but there are others. What small streamers give you is this engaged community. So, in terms of a big streamer, everybody knows that they have a ton of money. And the small streamer is just like barely getting by. They are not earning enough on the hard work they put in. So, the community, and there was also a Twitch study about that. So, 81% of stream viewers view supporting a streamer as something very important to them. And 64% of them are more likely to choose a brand that supports their favorite streamer. And the favorite is somebody we root for, somebody we give our heart for, we cheer for. And usually you don't cheer for celebrities the same way you're cheering for your favorite small creator. And if you can, on one hand, get the credibility and the, like, the big name of the big star, and on the other hand, get um, this love that you can get from supporting small streamers, and you can do it in automated way because we also make it, very, very easy to do, probably way easier than negotiating a contract with a big star. Of course, way easier. It's going to take weeks to negotiate a contract with a big star, and we can start in 2 days. And if you can just connect those two things, it's great. If you are choosing between one of or the other, you have to treat the collaboration with the big streamer, like the really, really big one, as a standalone thing. Usually, I wouldn't say that, collaborating with the top one celebrity in a field would be just a small part of a big campaign. You are building around this persona and around what you're doing with it, because this is how you get the value for the money. And on the other hand, using tools that give you just automated, maybe less personalized, but automated reach in many communities at once, can be a great support to an existing campaign as like supporting media. Of course, you can make something around just supporting small streamers, or make a very, very interesting kinds of mechanism with being able to react live to what's happening on the stream. But on the other hand, you can just treat it as media. So different kind of collaborations serve different purpose, and in the end they all come down to one thing very important for marketers. Whether you're working with a celebrity or you are working with small streamers, you are reaching the audience that will always call your bullshit out. So you really have to make sure that it feels natural. Your message is not non-intrusive, not fake. You are not coming there and say, hello, hello gamers, I'm a gamer, gaming, I love gaming, because it will not work. But if you are come from the point of, I want to be a part of this community, I want to trust the big creator to, give some kind of input, do it, the way that's really, really something that their viewers are comfortable with, they know, and in his own style, this is amazing. And the same with micro streamers. If you do it in a way that's non-intrusive, the language that fits, like the placement just really fits the streaming word, and it's not faking it, then you are good to go. And any kind of placements will work, and it just depends on your needs and what you want to achieve.
And you hinted towards it. What does it look? What could it possibly look like? Because I think there's two different things. Yes, in the most traditional sense, advertising can is part of that. You have advertising in a campaign, and it doesn't necessarily built inside the stream itself, but is part of a break or something that is played inside of the stream. And then you have partnerships that are much more specific towards the actual streamer and something that is actually inside the stream itself. Could you talk a little bit about what are the different ways that a brand can partake? What does it look like whenever you are advertising or sponsoring a stream?
But via Instreamly, or generally speaking, what are the options for the brands?
I would say let's talk about a little bit of both.
All right.
What are the most traditional ways in which brands are able to work with streamers, and then more so in what you're familiar with in Streamly.
All right. So the first thing with streamers, I'd say this sponsorship, and you can say a certain campaign sponsorship, and on the other hand, long term sponsorship. So signing a name, especially if somebody has a good personal brand, is very well known, and having them as a long term ambassador. This has its pros of like having this credibility of a long term ambassador, but sometimes the cons that you cannot have the streamer mention a brand maybe more than once or twice a stream. So in the end, 20 seconds over 4 hours, and usually it's just a logo on stream. So you need to work hard to really make it meaningful, maybe use their likeness, their image in some kind of other side marketing, and use the brand that they made into like making your brand better. And the other thing is campaign related sponsorship. So, for example, when you're doing a launch of a new product, just standard influencer marketing. So, agreeing with streamers that during the stream, they will show the product, showcase it. Sometimes my favorite one of those was when Lyric, a streamer that is very popular, but he usually streams without camera, and he had a partnership with a shaving machine company. I think it was Philips. I'm not sure. And he will not turn on his camera on his face. And he was showing the machine on the stream. And then later, people could uh, post their photos and of their beards, etc., on Twitter with a special hashtag, and he would review them on stream and say what kind of modifications they should do to their facial hair. And this was very natural. It takes a lot of time. If it works wonders. On the other hand, it's still during the stream and then it's gone. So sometimes brands will go and work with a streamer, but demand a TikTok, a Twitter post, an Instagram post instead of placement within a stream, because the stream, just vanishes after it's done. So this is a couple of ways to do that. And of course, you can ask the streamer not only to show the physical product, they can, go to your e-commerce site. I also loved when one streamer on one stream went through an e-commerce site, um, picked clothes he would like to try on, and then a couple of days later made a stream when he was just doing a fashion show and showing off clothes, and people were chatting with him, and it was all done in a very free and natural manner. So these are two more of a standard sponsorships. And of course you can have a chatbot comment with a link to a chat, an overlay or something like this. uh, there are other ways. There are some platforms, if you are a game developer, for example, or you have a digital product, They are distribution platforms that allow you to distribute the game to multiple streamers at once and measure how much time those streamers played the game. We also do that uh, on a lower scale because it's a, let's say, a product that's in beta right now from our side, but there are others who do it on a very, very big scale. And there we come to what we do at Instreamly. So one thing is just this placement. We also do this kind of a product placement, but usually digital one. So one that is not about sending streamers physical stuff, because if we focus on, aggregating reach from thousands of streamers at once, then
Yep.
sending something to 20 of them will move the needle a bit, maybe from, like, the how people who watch those streamers love the brand, but it's not going to be a lot of people. So what we do is we treat those thousands of streamers on one hand as micro influencers because they choose the brand to work with, but from the point of view of a brand, it's a very simple, animation and artwork that's within the stream. So a step up over the logo that's constantly there. And we can make it, animate and jump from one side of the screen to the other, say something. There is also automated CTA with a link. Everything is measured, and this is when the fun happens. So of course this is some kind of automated placement and has this bonus of being in thousands of streams at once. On the other hand, it's not as personal, and this is why we try to leverage the point of being live. So for example, we can take any data and make the artwork depend on this data. So for example, one campaign for Netflix, for the old guard, there was this team of mercenaries, and we made an artwork when where the leader of the team, it was Charlize Theron, had, similar to in Fortnite, picking your characters, and when you are in the lobby with your friends, and that they have nicknames over the head. So the leader was always the streamer nickname, and on every artwork, every time it happened, there were different nicknames from people who are watching this stream. So you could see yourself as the part of the stream. And usually you have to pay for that because people donate money just to be visible for a couple of moments on the stream. We can make it very dependent on, for example, if you're doing a contest and people win every couple of minutes, we can just, show who win because it's live. So we see live streaming as a channel. Those streamers, because they choose the brands to work with and they feel like the personal connection, are treated as influencers. On the other hand, for brands, they are paying for media. And this is something in the middle. And if you want to go more into like straight up media, of course, there are in platform ads, pre rolls and mid rolls that are, full screen video with sound on. And the pros of this is very visible because, it just covers the whole stream. There is sound, there is everything. But the con is that it covers the whole stream in a random moment. So imagine watching a streamer fight a boss for an hour and then in the final moment, bam, an ad. You wouldn't like the brand that's running the ad. And but this is also, on the other hand, like, really simple, something you can compare to any other media. And I think those types of being present in live streaming are the most common. Of course, sponsorships can be very different because you can sponsor a streamer, a group of streamers, or an esports team that has a lot of streamers and be present in live streaming this way. But it all comes down to those four ways of appearing within the stream.
When you talk about streaming, let's talk a little bit, because there's a couple things I still want to ask you. And by the way, you're such a wealth of knowledge on this. And I will say that, yeah, I think there's all different kinds of ways that a brand can work with a streamer. And that is, it's so great because it gives us room for ideas, and it gives us room to make whatever larger idea that the campaign has to be able to be reflected within the personality of that streamer. And it even when you do things that scale maybe a little bit more automated, it still can be part of an idea, and it still needs to grab attention. And I love all that. So thank you so much. We could have you on like a couple more times just talking through like those specifics, but I really want to talk about like, okay, if people confuse a lot of times on, hey, just gaming and streaming are the same. A lot of people confuse, hey, gaming and esports are the same. So could you talk a little bit about where kind of those three things hit? Where does gaming, where does esports come into play when it comes into streaming? And I know that is a big question with probably a big answer, but yeah, I know you have a ton of experience in the esports world. Where does that come in for somebody who maybe isn't as familiar with how esports works with streaming?
All right. So maybe I'll go the difference between esports and gaming and how to understand it, and then where streaming comes in, because streaming complicates all of it. So, first, starting with numbers, gaming is the biggest entertainment industry, bigger than cinema and music combined, and around $150 billion worth industry. Esports, as an industry, is hitting 1.5 to 2 billion. So, all in all, esports is 1% of gaming. And if you are confused how to define who is a gamer and who is not a gamer and who is an esports player and who is not, it's very hard to define, because if you compare it to sports, is a boy that plays in his team trying to be a pro player one day and he trains 5 days a week for 3 hours every day. Is he a sports person or a sports fan? Is a mother that every weekend goes biking with her kids a sports person? They are doing sport. Is a yoga fanatic or yoga casual? I do yoga once every month, if I remember. I'm doing sport, but am I a sports person? Where is the moment you are just playing sports when you are a sports person? And if it's you wouldn't call it that way. And similar with gaming, you can play many different games in many different ways and for many different reasons. And the motivations of why people play games, because it's not only competition, it's sometimes design, creating community, story, and sometimes people just want to blow shit up, and this is why they play and the reason they play. And all of those people play games. But some people will say these kinds of games, playing those makes you a gamer. But playing those, for example, MOBA games like Candy Crush Saga or Farmville back in the days, they were also games, but you wouldn't call those people a gamer. But in the, I'd say, most casual, most common known way of who is a gamer, even though nobody will call themselves a gamer, because it's like calling yourself a TV watcher. Not a thing, not a subculture. And just this is just normal. This is how we spend time as Gen Z. And we are like, when we ourselves gamers, it's sometimes to explain something to people who don't understand what it means. And esports is competitive gaming. So there are games where people compete with others with the sole purpose of being the best of the best. And this is esports. So you can play League of Legends, that is a competitive game, but I played it for the fun I had with friends. And I was not playing it the esports like really competitive way. But also League of Legends is the most popular esports in the world. People watch competitive players. There are esports teams similar to NBA teams that are all about pros, and on the other, all about creators, because um, sports teams might have cheerleaders, but in esports, you expect the players to be cheerleaders, so the entertainment as well. And this is where why live streaming gets it so complicated, because live streaming is the best way to watch esports, as like live TV or watching live is the best way to watch sports and live those emotions. But on the other hand, you will have the same players who are playing on a pro stage, and then they will go and stream the same esports game, but they might do it in a very funny way that's not very competitive, or they sometimes might just train and stream it at the same time. And live streaming, you could say, is a way to consume mainly gaming content or be within community that plays games, because just chatting is not gaming content, but the same people will watch just chatting on Twitch that will watch later some other games, or they will watch creators who then play games. So it's the same community. And esports is on one hand enjoyed via live streaming, and because it's gaming, a lot of players, people who are interested in the game, will have this interest come to life via watching streams. And you will have people like me. I watch more League of Legends right now as streamers or watching esports than I play. I cannot play the game because it's too hard for me to uh, like takes too much time, but I will gladly watch. And am I a gamer? Am I a watcher? Are we humans or are we dancers?
I love it so much. The idea of, or analogy of, I'm not a TV watcher. I don't call myself a TV watcher, and it's very fluid, and it's not necessarily part of my identity that I'm a gamer or even a thought of that. It is more of what I do with my time, and that's my favorite for the day. I think that if marketers can kind of start to understand that a lot more, of it really is what it's always been about, is where I spend my time. And if you want to get in front of me, or if you want to get some of my attention, that's the place to start. And like I said, such a wealth of knowledge, and so glad to have you on the show. We're a bit running out of time, but I haven't even gotten to the future and to metaverse, which is something that happens a lot here, because there's so, and I think it's a lot of reason why we see marketers and brands slow to get into these platforms and to these places where we spend a lot of time now, is because it's just the familiarity of it. And there are nuances, tons of nuances between everything. And it does not take long, trust me, of being able to, but you have to get into it and get your hands dirty. And you have to be able to bring in somebody like you, Victoria, to somebody that really understands that gaming world, to help you kind of get your, to get you from more familiar, if you're not familiar with the gaming world. Because I don't think there's anything scary to it. It's really all exciting. But it can be a tough one to kind of try to eat all at once for like one campaign, when you just jump into gaming, and you see a lot of brands do that. Before you go, I have to get your kind of, I saw a stat the other day that was like 85% of Gen Z are saying that they are like meh when it comes to metaverse, of seeing brands inside the metaverse, not the metaverse itself, but seeing brands inside the metaverse. I saw that and I was like, well, people are meh about seeing brands
Anywhere.
anywhere, because the bar is extremely low on how much value is exchanged in a lot of those places. But I did want to get your thoughts on coming from the world that you are, being Gen Z, being involved and understanding esports. Well, where's your thoughts on the metaverse, and where do you see Instreamly kind of going in the future?
So I might start with a disclaimer. I've been following the term metaverse for the past 2.5 years. And for the past 2 years, I was like, yeah, it's a buzzword. It's not going to happen. It's not technologically possible because we have so many problems in gaming that basically will evolve into metaverse because we'll have digital spaces, and this is what most games are. And then I understood that even though the vision is crazy, and even though the vision is very sometimes dystopian, if there are enough smart people working on making it a reality, and we humans have a great track record of making impossible possible, then I realized that those technological problems, and they are very, very, game engines, networking,
Yep.
latency, all those things that NFTs and blockchain do not solve, they will be figured out one day somehow, probably sooner than later. So this is how I opened myself to thinking that this vision of, similar to Matrix, even like metaverse, a second digital universe that we are nearly physically in, or physically because in the end, haptic devices and then brain computer interfaces, I think are more happening in the future than we think it would. Like, it's not sci-fi anymore, I think. And if I might say why metaverse will happen, apart of there are many people working on it, is because we are already ready for it. So if you look at Gen Z, we are already all right with having an digital identity that might be very different to what our identity in real life is. It can be perfecting your Instagram feed, or it can be playing a role in GTA 5, or just being a VTuber and playing and streaming as an avatar that has a complete different personality. And it's normal to have this digital identity. There's the second thing. We are all accustomed to having digital friends. We have friends that we will probably never meet offline because they live on the other side of the world. And it's still a relationship, it's still friendship. And this is totally normal for us to have real life friendships inside internet. And the third thing is that we are all used to spending time in digital spaces. So whether it's games like World of Warcraft or Club Penguin, when I was 10, I was playing Club Penguin, having my penguin house and paying $100 to be able to um, afford my stuff for my penguin, and then they closed it. And you can also expand it to Discords and other things. So everybody's already, everybody, I'm like saying younger people, but it's going to be 20 years, so we are going to be the majority, no problem with that. And we are already ready to live a second life in the digital space, which comes with threat and opportunities on its own. On the other hand, I think most of the talk about the metaverse right now is bullshit and a buzzword. Things that were gaming campaigns 4 years ago now get called metaverse campaigns for I don't know what reason. So making a Roblox obby or experience, because now it's not called obby, so it's more sexy, it's still a gaming campaign. Making a map in Fortnite, gaming. And it's all gaming. And in the end, you could say, okay, all those platforms will evolve to become a part of the metaverse, because for me, the metaverse is like the internet. So platforms that allow to make your own words and spaces are the meta platforms, similar to our platforms, like, social media platforms. And your word and your space is what you make in Roblox right now. So it's not even the metaverse. You can, if you want to stretch it out, you are making a meta word or a meta space, and I am fully okay with that. So I think that most of the Gen Z are like, when they hear metaverse, because from our point of view, you see people that are getting excited with things that are, one, normal for us, our everyday life, and three, these are the same people who laughed at us 10 years ago when we were doing it, and now they are so excited because they are doing a very ugly thing in a very ugly engine and calling it the future. and they don't even notice all the pretty games and all the pretty words and stuff we are doing on our own for years. So I think that metaverse will exist. I really do hope so. I really do hope so. It will be decentralized. It will not be led by platforms, like it not will be controlled by Facebook or Google or anything, because we'll be all doomed if it was. And I also believe that it will be dependent on millions of independent creators, because internet right now, as it is and why it's so popular, because everybody can contribute, everybody can make their own profile, make their own blog, make their own podcast, and everybody can share their opinion. And internet is like this because everybody can create something. And I believe that metaverse will also rely on people not only creating content and communities like right now, but they will be also creating spaces, words, and they will be also creating assets, because you have to have a chair to sit on, you have to have eyes on your avatar, and they will be delivering very, very weird assets for very, very weird niches and different kinds of people and needs. And this is where our vision as Instreamly comes in. So we as Instreamly so- solve this problem of thousands, millions of independent streamers that have no access because they are too small, and on the other hand have very big communities, and they have a lot of influence over a lot of people when they are combined together. And we gave them a way to work with top brands, and we believe that if the metaverse relies of millions of independent creators, we can take the same model, the same idea, and just use it in this vision of metaverse. So in the way of how we will productize it, we will not be doing billboards, because why do billboards when you can do a lot of more fun things? But we are working on some proof of concepts, MVPs, on how it will scale into the metaverse. So also, if there are some brands that want to do crazy shit, experimental shit, that's it's gonna be more metaverse than more metaverse things around. Then we'll all for it. Contact me, because we need a very courageous partner for that.
Wiktoria Wójcik, I'm it's like the ultimate mic drop. Like that's it. I have zero to add. I'm high-fiving all through that. I'm so glad that you are out there in the world and helping marketers kind of with this transition, and coming from that Gen Z perspective that just says, hey, we're already we might be on ramping, right? And yes, enough time and attention and money that we can do amazing things, especially when everybody gets together, and we already are spending so much time in these digital worlds, right? And if anybody is set to do it, it's Gen Z, that is totally cool with a digital identity, and in fact has had one since childhood, is totally great with having friends and community that they've never actually met physically before, because that's just
Normal.
second nature. And is totally fine and has thousands of hours of experience inside of a virtual world, and telling stories and being part of stories, and in doing that right now. So yeah, totally primed for it. But we still have a long ways to go to get to whatever that end piece of metaverse is. But again, so glad that you are out there, and that Instreamly is out there. And yeah, if you're wanting to get your brand inside of the world of gaming, Victoria would probably be a great place to start with. But where can folks find you online, other than looking up Instreamly? Where can they hear your super smart point of views?
I am very good on when people ask me questions to respond to them with, great value, but not that great at producing it on my own. So I think the best way to follow me, it's on LinkedIn, and then on Twitter. I'll be trying to post a lot more let's call it thought leadership around gaming and marketing to Gen Z on LinkedIn, and then also on Twitter. And if you want to connect with me, this is the best place to go.
It's tough. You're a founder. It's busy. People don't understand how much time it takes to really not only provide this kind of marketing towards our clients and towards everything we do, but to be able to get it out there. But I'm telling you, it's well worth the time. I would love to hear more of your point of view, and looking forward to seeing what happens as we kind of move towards even closer to the metaverse, and can't wait to see what's next for Instreamly. Wiktoria, thanks so much for being on the Pop Marketing Podcast. And everybody out there, we'll see you next time. And
In
thank
the
you so
metaverse.
much. We'll see you in the metaverse. Thanks for coming back. And it's so great to be talking to such smart people again. Great to have the podcast back, and great to have Wiktoria kind of kick us off here.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for very interesting questions.